Trusting God becomes most important when you cannot see what is ahead of you. Anyone can feel confident when the road is clear, the answers are obvious, and everything is moving according to plan. But real faith is developed in the seasons when you are standing at a crossroads, looking at circumstances you cannot understand, and wondering what will happen next. You may have prayed for an opportunity and watched it disappear. You may have expected a relationship to continue and suddenly found yourself walking alone. You may have worked hard toward a goal and still see no evidence of progress. In those moments, you are being challenged to decide whether your confidence comes from what you can see or from the one you trust. God does not require you to understand the entire journey before you take the next step. He asks you to trust Him with a part of the journey you cannot see. You may only have enough light for today, but sometimes today's light is all you need to keep moving. There will be seasons when God seems silent, and silence can make you question whether anything is happening. You may look around and think that other people are moving forward while you are standing still. You may wonder why opportunities are passing you by, or why your plans are taking longer than expected. But delay does not mean abandonment. Silence does not mean absence. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean nothing is happening beneath the surface. A seed spends time underground before anyone sees the tree. Development often happens in places where there is no applause and no visible evidence. God can be working on circumstances, people, opportunities, and even your own character while you are waiting. Sometimes you are asking God to change your situation when He is using the situation to change you. The waiting season can develop patience, wisdom, discipline, maturity, and deeper dependence on Him. What feels like a pause may actually be preparation. One of the greatest struggles in trusting God is the desire to control everything. Human beings naturally want certainty. We want to know when the opportunity will come, how the problem will be solved, who will be involved, and exactly what tomorrow will look like. But control creates an illusion of security. You can plan carefully and still encounter something you never expected. You can prepare for tomorrow and still discover that tomorrow does not look like the picture you created in your mind. This is why trust requires surrender. Surrender does not mean becoming passive or refusing to work. It means doing what you are responsible for while refusing to carry what belongs to God. You can prepare, work, study, build, pray, and remain disciplined without trying to control every outcome. Your responsibility is obedience. The outcome is not always in your hands. When you understand that distinction, you begin to experience a different kind of peace. Trusting God also means refusing to let fear make your decisions. Fear will always demand immediate answers. Fear will tell you that if you do not know exactly what is coming, you should stop. Fear will convince you that one failure means you will never succeed again. Fear will make you interpret every closed door as rejection and every delay as defeat. But faith looks beyond the immediate situation. Faith says, I do not know everything, but I know enough to take the next step. You do not need to know how the entire story ends to remain faithful today. You only need to recognize the responsibility in front of you. If the next work. If it is to wait. If it is to let something go, let it go. If it is to begin again, begin again. The important thing is that you do not allow uncertainty to paralyze you. A person who trusts God can move forward without having every detail explained. There will also be moments when trusting God means accepting that His direction may be different from your preference. This is where genuine faith becomes deeper than simply believing that God will give you what you want. Anyone can say they trust God when everything is going according to their desires. The greater test comes when the answer is different from what you expected. You wanted one door, but another opened. You wanted one person, but that relationship ended. You wanted immediate success, but you were given a season of preparation. You wanted recognition, but you were given obscurity. You wanted the shortcut, but you were required to walk the longer road. In those moments, you have to remember that your limited perspective cannot compete with God's complete perspective. You see the present, He sees what your present is connected to. You see one chapter, He sees the entire story. What you call a setback may be protection. What you call rejection may be redirection. What you call waiting may be preparation for something you are not yet ready to carry. When you truly trust God, your behavior begins to change even before your circumstances do. You become less desperate for approval because you know your worth does not depend on people's opinions. You become less anxious about timing because you understand that rushing cannot improve what God is preparing. You become less consumed by comparison because you realize that someone else's progress does not cancel your own purpose. You begin to focus on what you can control: your character, your discipline, your obedience, your attitude, your preparation, and the way you treat people. You stop demanding that tomorrow reveal itself today. You learn to live faithfully in the present while trusting God with the future. You may not know where every road will lead, but you can continue walking with confidence because uncertainty about the path does not have to become uncertainty about the one who is guiding you. There is a danger that comes with elevation that many people do not recognize until they are already standing in a higher position. It is easy to ask God for success, influence, opportunities, recognition, and greater responsibility, but it is another thing to remain humble when those things finally arrive. Many people can handle having nothing, but they struggle when they begin to have something. They can remain faithful when nobody knows their name, but when attention comes, their character begins to change. They start believing that their success makes them more important than others. They forget the struggles that shaped them, the people who helped them, and the grace that carried them through difficult seasons. True elevation should not make you arrogant, it should make you more responsible. The higher you rise, the more carefully you should guard your heart, because success can expose weaknesses that failure never revealed. Humility does not mean thinking that you are worthless or pretending that you have no abilities. Humility means understanding the source and purpose of what you possess. You can recognize your gifts without worshiping yourself because of them. You can acknowledge that you are talented without believing that you are superior to everyone else. You can celebrate your achievements without allowing achievements to become your identity. There is nothing wrong with being confident in what you have developed, but confidence and arrogance are not the same thing. Confidence says, I know what I have been given and I will use it responsibly. Arrogance says, because I have succeeded, I am better than everyone around me. Humility keeps confidence under control. It allows you to walk into a room without needing to prove that you are the smartest person there. It allows you to listen even when you already have experience. It allows you to learn from people who may have less recognition than you but possess wisdom you still need. Remember where you started. Remember the seasons when you had more questions than answers. Remember the days when you were praying for the opportunity you now have. Remember the people who encouraged you when you were struggling to believe in yourself. Remember the moments when one small opportunity gave you the confidence to keep going. Remember the failures that taught you lessons success could never teach you. Your history should not become a source of shame. It should become a source of humility. When you remember where you came from, you become less likely to look down on people who are still where you once were. You understand that everyone has a process. Someone may be struggling today and become stronger tomorrow. Someone may be unknown today and influential tomorrow. Someone may be making mistakes today because they are still learning. Never allow your current position to make you disrespect someone's current position. You were once learning too. Humility also means knowing that elevation brings responsibility. If God gives you greater influence, you now have greater responsibility for how you use that influence. If you receive wealth, you have greater responsibility for how you manage it. If you receive knowledge, you have greater responsibility for how you share it. If people begin listening to you, you have greater responsibility for what you say. If you become a leader, your behavior becomes an example whether you realize it or not. Leadership is not simply standing above people. It is carrying responsibility for people. The person who truly understands this does not become intoxicated by power. They become more careful with it. They understand that influence is not given merely for personal glory. It should create value, open doors, strengthen others, and produce something meaningful beyond the individual. Never confuse attention with significance. People may praise you today and criticize you tomorrow. Crowds can change quickly. Applause can disappear. Trends can change. Recognition can fade. If your identity depends on people's approval, you will constantly be trying to maintain an image. You will become afraid of making mistakes because you are more concerned about how you look than who you are becoming. Humility frees you from that pressure. You can admit when you are wrong. You can apologize without feeling weak. You can say, I don't know. You can ask for help. You can learn from criticism without allowing criticism to destroy you. A humble person does not need to appear perfect. They understand that growth requires correction. They are willing to examine themselves because they care more about becoming better than looking better. The greatest evidence of humility is how you treat people who cannot benefit you. It is easy to be respectful towards someone powerful, wealthy, influential, or useful to your future. The real test is how you treat the person who has nothing to offer you. How do you speak to the person who serves you? How do you respond when someone makes a mistake? How do you treat someone who is beneath you in position but equal to you in human worth? How do you behave when nobody important is watching? Your character is revealed in those moments. Never allow your position to determine the value you place on people. You may have a higher title, more money, greater influence, or more experience, but none of those things gives you permission to become disrespectful. The mature person understands that greatness is not demonstrated by how many people serve them, but by how many people they are willing to serve. Stay humble when the doors begin opening. Stay humble when your name becomes recognized. Stay humble when your work begins producing results. Stay humble when people start complimenting you. Stay humble when you finally possess what you've once prayed for. Do not allow the blessing to become more important than the character required to carry it. Success should deepen your gratitude, not increase your pride. It should make you more generous, more patient, more disciplined, and more aware of your responsibility. Let every new level remind you that there is still more to learn. Let every achievement remind you that there is still more work to do. Let every opportunity remind you that what has been placed in your hands must be handled with wisdom. The higher you rise, the more grounded you must become, because the purpose of elevation is not simply to place you above others, but to give you a greater capacity to make a difference. There comes a point in your life when you must understand that not everyone deserves an explanation for your decisions. You can spend years trying to make people understand why you changed, why you walked away, why you became more disciplined, why you stopped participating in certain conversations, or why you chose a different direction. But the truth is that some people are not looking for understanding. They are looking for access to your life, information about your decisions, or an opportunity to challenge everything you do. If you constantly feel the need to explain yourself, you will eventually become exhausted trying to satisfy people who have already decided what they want to believe about you. You were not created to spend your life defending every decision. There is a difference between communicating with people who genuinely care about you and constantly trying to prove yourself to people who have no intention of understanding you. When you know why you are doing something, you do not need everyone to approve of it. There is tremendous freedom in reaching the point where your conviction becomes stronger than people's opinions. You can make a decision without immediately announcing it. You can choose a different path without gathering a committee to approve it. You can change your priorities without asking everyone around you to agree. Your life is your responsibility. Other people can give advice, but they cannot live your life for you. They do not carry your purpose. They do not experience your thoughts, your responsibilities, your private struggles, or your relationship with God in the same way you do. Therefore, you must learn to distinguish between valuable counsel and unnecessary opinions. Wisdom listens, considers, and then decides. Insecurity listens to every voice and becomes confused about which direction to take. Some people will misunderstand you even when you explain yourself perfectly. You can speak clearly, calmly, and honestly, and someone can still choose to interpret your words according to their own assumptions. This is one of the hardest lessons to accept because human beings naturally want to be understood. Nobody enjoys being falsely judged. Nobody wants others to believe something about them that is not true. But you cannot control every interpretation. If someone has already created a story about you in their mind, you may spend hours trying to correct it and still accomplish nothing. At some point, you have to allow people to have their opinions without making those opinions your burden. Not every accusation requires a response. Not every misunderstanding requires a debate. Not every rumor deserves your attention. Sometimes silence is not weakness. It is evidence that you have learned where your energy belongs. You must also stop explaining every change you make in your life. Growth will often make your old lifestyle uncomfortable. When you become more disciplined, people who are comfortable with your old habits may question you. When you become focused, people who are used to having unlimited access to you may accuse you of changing. When you start protecting your time, someone may say that you think you are better than them. When you stop entertaining unnecessary drama, someone may call you distant. When you become serious about your purpose, people who do not understand your vision may call you unrealistic. You cannot return to your old self simply because someone is uncomfortable with your growth. If you know that a particular change is necessary, let your life demonstrate why you made it. You do not need to convince everyone that your transformation is legitimate. Sometimes the people questioning your change are simply reacting to the fact that they no longer have the same access to you. There is also wisdom in keeping certain decisions private until they are established. You do not have to announce every goal before you have done the work. You do not have to tell everyone about every opportunity you are pursuing. You do not have to explain every move while it is still developing. Too much talking can create unnecessary pressure. When you announce something too early, you may begin seeking validation for it instead of completing it. You may become distracted by people's reactions before you have even given your idea enough time to grow. Some people will encourage you, some will discourage you, and others will project their own limitations onto your vision. If you listen to every voice, you can lose focus. There are certain things that need protection while they are still fragile. Silence gives you room to think, work, adjust, learn, and build without constantly performing for an audience. Stopping unnecessary explanations does not mean becoming rude or refusing accountability. There are moments when you should communicate clearly. There are people in your life who deserve honesty, respect, and an explanation when your decisions affect them. Maturity understands the difference. The goal is not to become someone who never explains anything. The goal is to stop explaining yourself simply because you are afraid of being misunderstood. There is a difference between responsibility and people-pleasing. Responsibility says, I will communicate because my actions affect others. People-pleasing says, I must convince everyone to approve of me. One comes from maturity, the other comes from insecurity. You can be respectful without becoming desperate for approval. You can communicate without defending your existence. You can listen without surrendering your convictions. The more secure you become in your identity and purpose, the less you will feel compelled to prove yourself. You will realize that your life does not need a constant commentary. Let people watch, let them question, let them misunderstand, let them change their opinions when they see the evidence. Your consistency will eventually communicate what your explanations could never accomplish. If you are becoming disciplined, keep being disciplined. If you are building something meaningful, keep building. If you're walking away from what destroys your peace, keep walking. If you are becoming a better person, continue becoming better. Your responsibility is not to convince everyone that you are changing. Your responsibility is to actually change. There is strength in allowing your character, decisions, and results to speak for themselves. When you stop spending your energy trying to be understood by everyone, you have more energy to become who you were created to be. There is a season in your life when silence becomes more valuable than explanation. Not because you are afraid to speak, and not because you have nothing to say, but because you have learned that everything does not need to be announced. Your vision is precious, especially when it is still developing. In the beginning, a vision can be fragile. It may exist only as an idea, a conviction, or a quiet burden in your heart. Before it becomes visible to others, it needs time, discipline, patience, and consistent work. If you expose every idea to every person, you give too many voices access to something that has not yet become strong enough to withstand constant criticism. Some people will understand your vision, but others will judge it according to their own limitations. They may tell you that it cannot work simply because they cannot imagine themselves doing it. Protecting your vision means knowing when to speak, when to listen, and when to remain silent. Not everyone needs to know what you are building. There is a difference between having a vision and constantly announcing your vision. Talking about what you are going to do can create the feeling that you are already accomplishing something when you have not yet done the work. You can receive excitement from telling people your plans without ever completing them. People congratulate you, encourage you, and respond to your announcement, and for a moment you feel accomplished. But purpose requires more than excitement. It requires execution. You have to move from talking about the idea to developing the idea. Move from announcing the goal to building the habits necessary to reach it. Move from telling people what you will become to becoming it. Silence can help you make that transition because it removes the pressure to constantly perform your progress for an audience. You are free to work without needing immediate recognition. Your vision also needs protection from unnecessary opinions. When you tell everyone what you are planning, you invite everyone to give you their interpretation of your future. One person will tell you that you are thinking too small. Another will tell you that you are thinking too big. Someone will tell you that you are too young. Someone else will tell you that you are too old. One person will remind you of everything that could go wrong, while another will compare your journey to someone else's journey. If you listen to every voice, you can lose the ability to hear your own conviction clearly. This does not mean you should reject wise counsel. Wise people seek advice from people with knowledge, experience, integrity, and good judgment. But there is a difference between seeking wisdom and collecting opinions. You do not need 10 people to validate what you already know you are supposed to do. Sometimes you need one trustworthy voice, careful prayer, and the courage to move forward. Moving in silence also protects you from premature celebration. There is a danger in celebrating a destination before you have completed the journey. When you constantly tell people about your plans, you may begin to identify with the image of success instead of doing the difficult work required to create success. You may enjoy being seen as someone who is building something while avoiding the uncomfortable process of actually building it. Real progress is often boring. It is repetition, discipline, failure, adjustment, learning, and starting again. Nobody applauds every hour you spend improving yourself. Nobody sees every sacrifice. Nobody witnesses every private decision to keep going when you are tired. That is why silence can be powerful. It allows you to focus on the work instead of the reaction to the work. You stop asking who noticed and start asking, did I improve? You stop asking, did they recognize me? And start asking, did I move closer to the purpose? There are also people who may not celebrate your progress because your progress reminds them of their own lack of movement. This is not a reason to become suspicious of everyone, but it is a reason to use wisdom about what you share. Not everyone who smiles at you understands your heart. Not everyone who asks about your plans needs to know every detail. Not everyone deserves access to your private goals, finances, relationships, opportunities, or future decisions. Some information becomes more valuable when it remains private. You can be kind without being completely exposed. You can love people without giving everyone access to every part of your life. Boundaries are not hatred. Privacy is not arrogance. Silence is not dishonesty. Sometimes protecting what God has placed inside you requires you to stop giving explanations to people who have not earned that level of access. Moving in silence does not mean disappearing from the world or refusing to communicate. It means becoming intentional about your words. Speak when your words have purpose. Speak when communication is necessary. Speak when your wisdom can help someone. But do not speak simply because you are uncomfortable with silence. Many people talk because they fear being forgotten. They announce their achievements because they need validation. They reveal their plans because they want immediate encouragement. They constantly explain themselves because they are afraid that people will form the wrong opinion. But when you become secure in your purpose, you no longer need to fill every silence with information. You can allow people to wonder. You can allow them to see the finished result instead of hearing every detail of the process. Your confidence becomes quieter because it no longer depends on being witnessed. The most powerful form of moving in silence is allowing your results to introduce you. Instead of telling people you are becoming disciplined, let your habits demonstrate discipline. Instead of telling people you are becoming wiser, let your decisions demonstrate wisdom. Instead of telling people that you are building a future, build it. Instead of explaining that you are different now, let your behavior reveal the difference. There will be a time when what you have been working on becomes visible. The people who questioned you may eventually see the results. The people who doubted your ability may eventually see the evidence. But by then you will not need their approval because the work has already transformed you. The greatest reward of moving in silence is not proving other people wrong. It is becoming so focused on your purpose that their opinions lose their power over you. You work because you are called to work. You build because you have been given something to build. You remain silent because your energy belongs to the assignment, not to the opinions surrounding it. Your reputation is what people think they know about you, but your character is who you truly are when nobody is watching. Reputation can be created by appearances, words, achievements, and public recognition, but character is developed in private. You can build a powerful reputation while secretly becoming a weak person. You can convince people that you are disciplined while living an undisciplined life behind closed doors. You can appear confident while being controlled by insecurity. You can speak about integrity while making compromises when nobody is there to challenge you. That is why character must become more important than reputation. Reputation can open a door, but character determines whether you are capable of remaining in the room. People may be impressed by what they see, but God sees what exists beneath the appearance. Your private decisions eventually shape your public life, and the person you become in secret will eventually influence everything you accomplish in public. Character is built through small decisions that often seem insignificant at the time. It is built when you choose honesty, even when lying would be easier. It is built when you keep your word, even when nobody would know if you broke it. It is built when you control your anger instead of allowing your emotions to control your behavior. It is built when you refuse to take something that does not belong to you. It is built when you do the right thing even though there is no reward for doing it. These moments may never be posted online. Nobody may applaud you for them. Nobody may even know about them, but they are shaping you. Every private decision is building something inside you. You are either strengthening your character or weakening it. Eventually, those repeated decisions become habits, and those habits become part of who you are. That is why you cannot separate success from character. Whatever you repeatedly practice privately will eventually appear publicly. A person with strong character does not need to constantly protect an image because their life is consistent. They do not have to remember which version of themselves they presented to different people. They are honest with themselves and others. They can admit their mistakes without feeling that an apology makes them weak. They can say, "I was wrong," because their identity is not built on pretending to be perfect. There is tremendous strength in being able to acknowledge your weaknesses. A person who refuses correction cannot grow. A person who believes they already know everything cannot learn. A person who protects their reputation at all costs may eventually sacrifice their character just to maintain an image. But a person who values character will accept correction when correction is necessary. They understand that being exposed as imperfect is not the greatest danger. Becoming unwilling to change as your character becomes especially important when you receive power, influence, money, or recognition. Success does not create character, it reveals it. When you have nothing, certain weaknesses may remain hidden because you do not have enough influence to express them. But when resources increase, your choices increase. If you were selfish before success, success may give you more opportunities to display selfishness. If you were generous before success, success may give you greater opportunities to demonstrate generosity. If you were arrogant before recognition, recognition may make your arrogance louder. If you were disciplined before opportunity, greater opportunity can magnify your discipline. This is why you must develop the person before you receive the position. Do not wait until you have influence to learn responsibility. Do not wait until you have money to learn discipline. Do not wait until people are watching to learn integrity. Build the foundation before the elevation arrives. Character also determines how you treat people who cannot advance your interests. It is easy to respect someone who can give you an opportunity. It is easy to be polite to someone who has influence over your future. But what happens when there is nothing you can gain from someone? How do you treat the person who serves you? How do you respond to someone who disagrees with you? How do you speak to someone who has made a mistake? How do you behave when you are frustrated and nobody important is watching? These situations reveal more about you than public speeches ever could. A person's true character is often visible in how they treat people they believe are beneath them. If your success requires you to make other people feel small, then your success has become a weakness rather than a strength. True maturity allows you to rise without stepping on people. It allows you to become stronger without becoming cruel. Do not become addicted to protecting your reputation. There will be moments when people misunderstand you. There will be moments when someone tells a story about you that is incomplete. There will be moments when people judge your motives without knowing your heart. You may feel the temptation to respond to everything because you want everyone to know the truth. But sometimes the strongest response is to continue living with integrity. If your character is consistent, you do not have to chase every accusation. You do not have to enter every argument. You do not have to prove yourself in every conversation. Let your life become evidence. Over time, consistent character has a way of exposing false impressions. People may misunderstand one decision, but they cannot easily ignore years of consistency. Your responsibility is not to control every opinion. Your responsibility is to remain truthful in your actions. There is a difference between being admired and being trustworthy. Admiration can come from appearance, talent, wealth, intelligence, or achievement. Trust comes from consistency. People trust someone when their words and actions match. They trust someone who does not change their principles depending on the audience. They trust someone who can keep confidential information private. They trust someone who does not use relationships merely for personal advantage. They trust someone who remains steady when circumstances change. This is why character is more valuable than popularity. Popularity can disappear quickly, but character can continue producing influence long after attention is gone. Build the kind of character that does not need a spotlight to remain strong. Build the kind of integrity that remains intact when nobody is checking. Build the kind of inner strength that allows you to walk away from opportunities that require you to compromise who you are. Your character is the foundation upon which everything else must stand. Skills can be developed, knowledge can be increased, money can be earned, positions can be gained, influence can grow. But without character, those things can become dangerous in your hands. The goal is not merely to become successful. It is to become someone capable of carrying success without being destroyed by it. Let your private life become strong enough to support your public life. Let your principles become stronger than your desire for approval. Let your integrity become more valuable to you than temporary recognition. When character becomes stronger than reputation, you no longer have to spend your life performing for people. You can live with the confidence that who you are in private is not completely different from who people see in public. There is a season when you must stop announcing what you are going to do and start doing it. Too many people spend their lives talking about the person they want to become, the business they want to build, the habits they want to develop, the goals they want to accomplish, and the changes they want to make, but their lives remain unchanged because talking has replaced action. Words can create excitement, but results require discipline. You can tell people that you are serious about your future, but seriousness is demonstrated by what you consistently do when nobody is watching. You can tell people that you want a different life, but a different life requires different decisions. You can tell people that you are becoming stronger, but strength is revealed when pressure comes and you refuse to return to the person you used to be. At some point, your words must become actions, and your actions must eventually become results. You do not need to convince everyone that you are changing. Change quietly. If you have decided to become more disciplined, begin disciplining yourself. If you have decided to become more focused, remove the distractions that have been consuming your attention. If you have decided to become wiser, start learning. If you have decided to become healthier in your habits, change what you repeatedly do. If you have decided to build something meaningful, begin building it. Do not spend all your energy explaining the new person you intend to become. Invest that energy into actually becoming that person. There is a difference between talking about transformation and experiencing transformation. Talking gives you temporary satisfaction. Transformation requires you to confront your weaknesses, change your habits, and remain consistent long after the excitement disappears. Results are powerful because they do not require constant explanation. When the work is real, eventually the evidence becomes visible. A person who has spent months developing discipline does not need to announce that they are disciplined every morning. Their consistency reveals it. Someone who has spent years developing wisdom does not need to tell everyone they are wise. Their decisions demonstrate it. Someone who has built something valuable does not have to repeatedly explain how hard they worked. The finished product carries evidence of the work. This is why you should become less concerned with proving yourself through words and more concerned with producing something meaningful through action. Let your consistency become your announcement. Let your progress become your introduction. Let your results answer questions that you once felt pressured to answer yourself. One of the reasons people struggle to produce results is that they become too concerned with other people's reactions. They want to know who will notice, who will praise them, who will support them, and who will acknowledge their effort. But if your motivation depends on recognition, you will struggle during seasons when nobody notices your work. There will be days when you make progress and nobody applauds. There will be nights when you sacrifice comfort for your future and nobody knows. There will be moments when you make the right decision and receive no immediate reward. Those moments are important because they reveal whether you are working for purpose or for attention. If you are working only to be seen, silence will discourage you. But if you are working because you understand your responsibility, you can continue even when nobody is watching. You do not need an audience to remain committed to something that matters. Let your results speak, but do not become obsessed with proving people wrong. There is a difference between accomplishing something because you are driven by purpose and accomplishing something because you want revenge. If your entire motivation is to show someone what they missed, you are still allowing that person to control your mind. You may become successful, but your success will still be connected to the person you were trying to impress. Real freedom comes when you stop building your life around other people's opinions. Build because you have a vision. Work because you have a responsibility. Improve because you know you have more potential to develop. Become successful because you want to fulfill what has been placed inside you, not because you want to make someone regret doubting you. When purpose becomes stronger than resentment, your work becomes cleaner and your focus becomes sharper. Your results will also require patience. One of the greatest mistakes people make is expecting immediate evidence from long-term work. They begin something for a few weeks and become frustrated because their lives do not look completely different. They start a new habit and expect instant transformation. They begin working toward a goal and become discouraged when progress is slow, but meaningful results are usually built through repetition. A tree does not become strong because it grew quickly for one day. Strength comes through years of development. Your character works the same way. Your discipline grows through repeated choices. Your confidence grows through keeping promises to yourself. Your wisdom grows through experience and reflection. Your results may seem small at first, but small results repeated consistently can eventually produce a completely different life. Do not despise small progress simply because it does not yet look impressive. There will also be seasons when you must work without receiving recognition. This is where humility and purpose become connected. If you need everyone to notice your contribution, you will eventually become disappointed. People may take your effort for granted. Someone else may receive credit for work you helped create. Someone may overlook your improvement. Someone may not recognize how difficult your journey has been. But do not allow a lack of recognition to make you abandon your responsibility. You know what you are building. God knows what you are building. That knowledge can be enough to keep you moving. Continue developing your abilities. Continue becoming more disciplined. Continue honoring your commitments. Continue doing excellent work even when the applause is absent. The unseen work is still shaping you, and the discipline developed in private will eventually influence what you are able to accomplish publicly. Your results should also reflect the person you are becoming. It is possible to achieve a goal and still lose yourself in the process. That is why success cannot simply be measured by what you possess. Ask what your achievements are doing to your character. Are you becoming more humble or more arrogant? More disciplined or more careless? More generous or more selfish? More peaceful or more anxious? Responsible or more entitled? The greatest result is not simply reaching a destination. It is becoming capable of carrying what you have reached. If you gain influence but lose integrity, you have not truly won. If you gain money but lose your peace, the achievement has a hidden cost. If you gain recognition but become dependent on attention, the victory becomes another form of bondage. Let your results be evidence not only of what you accomplished, but of the person you became while accomplishing it. Eventually, you will understand that you do not have to respond to every doubter. You do not have to argue with every critic. You do not have to correct every person who underestimated you. You do not have to announce every victory. There is a different kind of confidence that develops when you become comfortable letting your life speak. You stop chasing approval because you have become focused on responsibility. You stop arguing about your potential because you are busy developing it. You stop telling people what you will do because your attention is invested in doing it. Your silence becomes productive. Your discipline becomes visible. Your consistency becomes undeniable. And the life you build through patience, faith, humility, and persistent action begins to communicate what words never could.